Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 33. Yeah, I realized though it's been a couple weeks since I did a Doctor Who video. The last time, basically, I watched online. This time, I actually had a physical DVD of this one. But which one is it, you might ask? This is the 99th story for Doctor Who. This is The Pirate Planet. Also just happens to be part 2 of the Key to Time story arc. Yes, as the stuff related to the TARDIS, we see it briefly at the beginning, a little bit toward the very, you can see very few times. It's like with this one, basically, they spent very little amount of time. Though it does get one little bonus scene here. Now, the Pirate Planet itself. Well, it's run by this captain. That's him right there. This tall, slim guy. By the way, the guy's name is Bruce Purchase, the guy who plays him. Yes, seriously. This aired back in September to October of 1978. And you're thinking, wow, that was 34 years ago. About 34 years ago. Actually, yeah, 34 years ago, that's when it aired. So they come to this planet to find the second piece of the Key of Time. Okay. I guess, of course, to figure out what this planet is. It's called Califrax. And apparently it's a useless rock. And when the doctor finds out it's Califrax, he is so disappointed. It's this particular planet because it's useless, just basically a big ice rock. And they get there like, wait, this isn't Califrax. They actually find out later on in the story Califrax is being absorbed into this particular planet. Yes, it's kind of weird how they explain it here. They explain this like toward the end, like during the second half of this. So, weirdly enough, we have these group of people apparently are supposedly the population of this world. Yes, a population comprised of 15 people. Like, couldn't they just have a bunch more extras and just basically make it sound bigger? But no, it doesn't. I mean, I'm like, wow. It was so obvious that basically this was so low budget. And they had this place where the main villain, supposedly main villain of this thing, the captain, on this place called The Bridge. And he's basically sitting in a chair that looks like a pilot's chair. They do explain that he's actually how he got this particular. He's actually not from this world. It's called Xanax, that's the name of the planet. Apparently, he arrived here in a gigantic solar ship. What the ship looked like? Nobody knows because they never showed a damn thing. And apparently he's been there for hundreds of years. And of course they also explain what backstory of the planet. Or was once ruled by a tyrant, a queen. Yes, a queen who's a tyrant. You're thinking, that doesn't happen very often. Usually a lot of tyrant fiction, usually it's a guy who's just picked as a tyrant. Not usually a woman. That doesn't happen very often. But my guess is because of the late 70s, they probably want to do something different for a change. Which, of course, they did. Yeah, as for what happened to this woman, they say she died, but the doctor finds later in the story, like, oh, she's alive. Except she's trapped in a moment of time in her last few seconds of her life. And this woman has no idea what's going on. She has no idea. By the way, the captain himself, he has this look in this whole story. Now, what he looked like prior to this particular appearance? Apparently, when he explained he crashed here, apparently he was one of the very few survivors. Who the other survivors were, they don't say. They say he was surgically altered in a robotic arm, which for some reason they kept changing it half the time. Like one point it looked gray, I've never seen it turn white. It's almost like the people making this episode had no idea what the captain's arm was supposed to look like. Yeah, he's a cyborg, but did you really need to keep changing his arm? Like, oh, it's this white thing, or this gray thing. I'm like, okay. And by the way, that thing that looks like, oh, is that his mustache? No, that's a little communication thing. He can't communicate with supposedly this new golden age tranquility every time he mines a planet. Yeah, and the mining facility looks like it's a completely different location than where they actually have the bridge. That's what they call his base. The bridge. Oh, take him to the bridge. I'm like, wow. Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way, they have these people known as the Menus, I think they're called. They're telepathic, and they attack with telepathic attacks. And the special effects, wow, these special effects do not age well for this thing. Oh, fire the guns off. Beep, beep. And supposedly get fall over. Okay. Well, it was late 70s, and yeah, this one is obviously, it's like they spent too much on certain costumes than over special effects. Special effects, they look really bad. And this was the late 70s, where special effects were not that advanced they are nowadays. So, by the way, they actually have they call them air cars. Simply put, they're convertible hover cars. Yes, on an alien planet that looks like doesn't have much for technology. I mean, what technology they have? Their guns, the captain's ship that's basically part of the planet, and apparently it keeps jumping. Yeah, this planet jumps. So pretty much in the way some people might describe, oh, it's a planet that jumps and absorbs minerals, crushes it, and basically catapults in a trophy room. Like, this sounds a lot like Unicron from Transformers, and yet this came out 8 years before that. Yes, this is 8 years for Unicron, and yet the whole thing with this planet, Xanax, is very similar to Unicron from Transformers. Very similar. Oh, by the way, do we actually see what the planet looks like from the outside? Briefly in the final episode of this thing. Yeah, this is only 4 episodes, shockingly. Yeah. Despite being 4 episodes, the pacing is actually... It's a little fast, but doesn't progress too quickly, per se. Things I understand, like, I would say the best thing about this episode, aside from the acting, is the writing. Yeah, the writing of this thing is so freaking good. Like, the villains are quite interesting. Nothing really bad about them. We have this mysterious nurse who's got this remote control on her. Like, why does this nurse have remote control? Yeah, they actually reveal in the final episode that this nurse is the evil queen. The one who everyone thinks is dead. Yeah, the way they explain it is that she's sort of using, like, technology to make herself immortal. And that when she explains this to the doctor, like, yeah, your process is bullcrap. And then eventually this evil queen is vaporized by a one-shot character. Yeah, not killed by the doctor. By the way, we actually have Romana firing a gun and killing somebody, which, that seems something. It's only her second appearance and she's already killing somebody already. Okay. Yeah, and, oh, let's have these 10 telepaths open a door with their mind. I'm like, wow. And here, you want something really cheesy? You want to stop the thing from dematerializing? Okay, so let's have it where, like, try to open the door with the jam, but the jam is removed because the count jammer is like, okay, you lift the tool up with your mind, you merge it over to the machine, and like, okay, what do we do now? Hit it, and they whack the thing, killing all of the support people there. The only people who survived this explosion is the captain and the evil queen. The queen eventually kills the captain. Yes, kills the captain. This happens well halfway through the story. Yeah, and by the way, his evil bird. Yeah, you see that little bird he's got on his shoulder? Yeah. Guess who takes care of that thing? Yeah, guess who kills that thing off in the story? K9. Makes sense. And by the way it shows the beat is apparently he picks the thing up after he finally shoots the thing down. He just picks up his nose. And because he's a pirate, he's like, okay, instead of doctor explain everything, drag over to this area. Yes, this area behind where he sits on his throne, or at least his command chair. And he wants him to, and the doctor wants, you really want me to walk the plank? Yes, seriously, opens up his wall to walk the plank. And supposedly it's 1,000 feet up, even though I'm clearly looking at the damn thing. It's a white. It's like a white wall. It's like he just fell over like a foot. Yes. And yeah, and it turns out the doctor fell down here is not the actual doctor. Oh no. It was a projection. Not kidding. Yep. And yeah, it has. And by the way, when all the bad guys feel like, okay, what about the base? What are they going to do with that? Oh, and they actually have it where all the plants they captured, when they captured the Califrax, basically because they were already destroyed anyways, they use that to fill in all the holes to make a more stabilized planet. Okay, fine. Califrax off the time vortex, and by the way, maybe Califrax is actually the second part of Key of Time. Yeah, and Doctor, oh yeah, we'll retrieve that in time vortex, no problem. Which means by the next episode, probably gonna fix it up. Yep. So then, of course, like, okay, the captain's dead, his staff is dead, the evil queen's been defeated. All that's up to take care of is the bridge. So how would we take care of this evil-looking mountain that's been sort of a sign of fear for decades? Blow it up, of course. And they use an actual explosive, basically like an old-fashioned like plunger. You pull it down. Except here's the thing: does the doctor do it? Nope. He just wires it, and it's actually the telepathic people who are responsible for it. By the way, the leader of this group, yeah, his grandfather is like, oh, like, yeah, the guy is an idiot. Yes, he's probably the worst character in this whole thing. He's terribly written. He's like, oh, I want to upset natives, upset neighbors. Be quiet, be quiet. Doesn't give a damn about his own grandson at all. And he's written out the story. Is he killed off? No, he just disappears and never seen again. And after the bridge is destroyed, then of course Doctor tells tells the guy's granddaughter, and looks like to be her boyfriend. He's like, yeah, this is a good place to settle down. Possibly a family here. And then they walk off, and that's the episode. This is an okay story per se. I like the villains. I like the back to the planet. I thought it was quite interesting to explain. Except the thing that you call this part 2, the Key of Time, and yet you don't show what the part looks like unless you see the damn DVD cover. Yeah, they never show what the damn thing looks like. That's one thing kind of bad about this one. Yep. So, there'll be another Doctor Who review coming. Don't worry about that. And I'll be discussing a story from John Pertwee's run. Oh, by the way, this is from Tom Baker's run. Yes, Tom Baker. With Mary Tam still as Romana. Still a very beautiful woman at that point in time. Oh, yeah, definitely. They changed her outfit from the last story. Last story was like a white dress she was wearing. Here it's a pink top with white pants. And white high heel boots. Yes, that is her attire from the second story. The Doctor, of course, has not changed his outfit at all, though he at some points keeps redressing his scarf, like changing direction a few times. Yep, because it's enormously long. It's a joke of how long this damn thing is. Yep, so yeah, that's it, single review. Next one's going to be Blue Exorcist, and then later on it will be One Piece. Yes, I will talk about One Piece today, despite the fact it's not necessarily the episode. It's a clip show. I'll talk about that, okay? Next video. Bye.